Now, first thing, mistakes to avoid, pricing strategy. Let's have a look. So we need to understand first, what is a logical buyer's decision-making matrix? And there are 4 steps when a landed buyer want to make a decision. Why is it important to understand? It's because if you are buying, you want to understand what is a good decision-making kind of sequence. If you are selling, you can also understand what the buyer is thinking about. So let's have a look at the first one. And before that, why is this important for us? Is because if we don't understand the decision-making matrix that is logical, we will tend to buy with emotion. And next time when we want to sell, there will, of course, be a certain level of heart pain when you want to sell, because there are properties, of course, that are stuck in the market for 12, 18 months and they still cannot find a buyer. So we want to buy with analysis and logic. So let's have a look. Step number 1 of a landed buyer. So a typical landed buyer, and we all know that a landed buyer, they have a certain level of budget, and they are of definitely a certain level of career status, professional status, or maybe they're already having a certain level of property portfolio status. And thus, when they want to come into the landed market with, let's say, 4, 5, 8, or 10, or 15, $20 million, they follow a certain decision matrix. And the first step usually that a landed buyer will do is that they will start with a district level decision first. So they will decide which district do I want to go. So after they selected the district, second one is that within that district, they will start to study the enclaves. They might drive around. They might have a feel of the enclave. They might see which portion is elevated, which portion is near to certain amenities, which portion feels good as well, and how are the neighbors like, how is the facade of the existing landed like, how the roads are there, cul-de-sac and stuff like that. So they will start to select enclaves. After they have pinpointed certain enclaves and shortlisted the enclave, they will then start to look at these 3 most important factors. First one, what are the inherent factors of, let's say they shortlisted 3 landed properties or 5 landed properties. What are the inherent factors of these 5 landed? Can I add value, or has there been value that has been added by the current owner? And then vis-a-vis the asking price of this landed home. So these 3 will then make up, in combination, my pricing decision. And after these 3, there are also another 3 subset of homework before I put down the check and make an offer to the seller. Is that I want to compare in terms of the past transaction on this street and enclave. Is this asking price fair? Am I paying too much? Am I paying above value for too much? And currently, am I in the seller's or buyer's market? Am I in a bull market or a bear market? They also want to look at this thing called CMA, comparative market analysis. That means I want to look at the entire basket of asking prices now. Let's say now this particular enclave and this particular 2 rows of streets are the homes that I'm shortlisted. Maybe there are 5 landed within here that I like, and I'm hunting for a semi-D. What are the other semi-Ds asking for? I want to know the asking prices. We call it comparative market analysis. And of course, I also want to check the bank valuation of this particular landed that I am shortlisting before I make an offer, because I want to make sure that the bank can support the valuation. Even if I were to pay above valuation, I don't want to pay too high in the sense that I have to top up too much cash. So these are the combined 4 steps in terms of decision metrics. And then, of course, when we look at this entire flow, it will start from here, district, enclave, followed by these 3 factors, and these 3 are the subset of the pricing offer decision. So let me introduce to you the new framework for tonight. So the new framework is that when a buyer wants to make a decision, they will always think about GIC versus PIC. That means that when they're comparing between 5 landed or 3 landed before they make an offer, or maybe there are 4 that they like. Let's say if they're looking at a semi-D within that same enclave, they will compare GIC versus PIC of this 4 landed. So what do I mean by that? This is basically what I mean by GIC and PIC. So every landed, we call this the landed apex coin, meaning that a landed with good inherent characteristics, at the flip side is that I will still have a chance for me to add value after purchasing it. That means if I buy a good landed with more inherent characteristics that are good, that are positive, and of course there might be certain level of poor inherent characteristics, but the good supersedes the poor, I will still have a chance on the flip side of my coin to add value to this particular landed. And of course, if I find a good inherent characteristics landed, I want to introduce you to this horse. It's like a horse that is very strong. It's like a good horse. A horse with a good DNA. So we're going to represent this particular horse image. Fix it. Try to remember the image in your mind. I hope that this photo looks great. We call this a horse with a good DNA, good inherent characteristics. And of course, certain homes have more poorer inherent characteristics. Maybe it's facing an expressway and things like that, odd shape and stuff. And there are several good characteristics, but the poorer characteristics supersedes the good ones. On the flip side of this particular landed, there's still a chance for me to value add, because certain homes with poorer characteristics can still allow me to rebuild. I can still A&A, I can make it into a fantastic, beautiful home. I can add lift, create more bedrooms. I can make the design very solid. So every home is fair. On the flip side, I can always value add. And I'm going to create this new image as well. So I will call this a poorer DNA horse. So for this webinar, we're going to have 4 different types of horses for everybody to remember easily. So when you're out on the ground hunting for your landed home, it's easier. So next time we can just chat according to horse languages. So maybe when you speak with our landed consultants or speak with me, we can just use horses to describe certain homes. All right. So 4 types of landed horses. Let's have a look at this. Number 1, a good DNA horse. Number 2 is that the good DNA horse, after you add in value, add enhancement. Let's say this plot is solid, it's a good plot, it is a good DNA, and you still decide to rebuild it, you are creating a stellar horse. Basically, this horse will be solid, all right? And let's say you find a good plot, fantastic facing, quiet facing, good land size as well, and then you decide to buy it, and there's no need for you to rebuild. You just need to do a bit of renovation. You are also value adding it. You add in a lift and things like that. You're also creating a stellar horse. Now, let's have a look at this as well. If let's say you have certain budget limitation, or maybe you like this enclave and there's only this home available and you decide to go ahead and buy a poorer DNA horse, this is what we call a PIC, but you still have a chance to enhance the poorer DNA horse into what we call an enhanced horse. So all in total, we have 4 horses here. We have good DNA, poorer DNA, we have a stellar horse, and we have an enhanced horse. Enhanced horse means that inside is actually a poorer DNA horse, but you enhance it. You build it beautifully, you add value, you build a pool and things like that, all right? So let's have a quick recap, because we're going to combine these 2 frameworks. I've been talking about this framework for the last 3 years, and a lot of our landed buyers and sellers, they have actually wrote into us when they interacted with us, or they have purchased or sold homes with us. They have told us and feedback that this landed categorization framework has helped them tremendously. And let me just do a quick recap. Basically, there's 4 categories of landed home. First category are homes that are meant for rebuild, usually more than 30 years, single-story homes. Category 2, usually 1.5 story to 2 story, more than 20 years. They require A&A, because a lot of the 2-story homes now only have like 3 bedders, not enough bedrooms, not enough built-in area. Category 3 are homes usually done in the last 10 to 15 years, modern built, renovated. Some come with lift, beautiful condition, but they're 10 to 15 years old. And Cat 4 will be homes that are being introduced by developers. They bought a lot of Cat 1 homes, tear them down, subdivide, and then they rebuild and sell it straight to the market once they complete it. So it's brand new. You are the first owner to own it and live in it. So example of Cat 1 home, Cat 2, Cat 3 will be renovated. You just need a little bit more renovation. Cat 4 will be brand new homes, all right? Now, quick recap. What is also landed disparity effect? Disparity effect basically is a comparison across conditions. So very importantly, when you use the landed framework that PLB has invented, you use the disparity effect as well to put in the pricing before you make a decision. So for example, this particular enclave, you see 4 different landeds, or maybe you see a particular landed and you want to know if this price makes sense. You need to compare across the category 1 in the same enclave. How much are they asking prices? Category 2 and the brand new developers, and then you see whether the price that this seller is asking for, does it make sense for you to make an offer. So that's what we call disparity effect conditions. And let me give you an example. So now I'm going to add in the horse kind of framework so that it's easier for everybody to understand even better, right? So let's, for example, you see a Cat 2 home, which is like a home that has been 25 years, all right? And work needs to be done. A needs to be done, all right? Because it has been 25 years, first owner condition, only 3 bedrooms, not enough build up. And then you see on the same street, another home for sale is a Cat 3 home, and this home is renovated, all right? Of course, this is like a visual image, but let's imagine this Cat 3 is not brand new, about 10 years old. You can move in straight on, you just need to repaint, touch up a little bit, do some carpentry, and both are asking for the same price. However, this land plot has good DNA. Why? Maybe in terms of facing, it's fantastic, north-south direction, quiet, but this has poorer inherent characteristics. Maybe it's facing a noisy street. Maybe it has a west sun facing, but it's added with VAE, it's enhanced. And thus, when you look at this two, you are thinking, hey, should I go for this one with a poorer inherent characteristic, but it has been added value by the owner already. It means that I don't need to spend much money. But this one, maybe I need to spend $1 million to A&A, and it will bring my total cost to $9 million. But I'm going to have like a stellar horse, a horse with good DNA that's being enhanced with value. So which one should I choose? So with this, then it will be easier for us to make a decision, because end of the day, it's also based on our time preference. Do I have the time to spend on A&A or rebuild? All right. So now that all the 3 frameworks are added together, it's easier for us to move on to 3 to 4 different scenarios. Let's have a look. Now, so we're going to do this together, all right? So any questions, of course, feel free to ask in the chat box. Usually what we do is that after the webinar, we'll compile the questions and then we'll answer one shot, send out a PDF to everybody to your email that you used to sign up for our webinar. Now, let's have a look at scenario number 1. So scenario number 1 is that just imagine you're a buyer and you're out hunting. You have already selected your district. You are going into an enclave already, and then you're deciding, hey, what kind of home should I buy? You have a set of budget, but your budget is pretty flexible. You can actually go up to Cat 4 of maybe a semi-D. But you're just really thinking, hey, you know, I have maybe certain aspirations. I do hope that, you know, one day I can buy a landed that's all tear down and rebuild to my own design, because I have certain kind of style that I want, certain kind of structure, size of bedrooms I want to be involved. And I have the time. I have the 1.5 to 2 years time to work with my architect. But at the same time, you're also open. If there's good Cat 4 homes, you don't mind buying it. If there are beautiful Cat 3 homes, you're also okay. Or Cat 2 homes for you to A&A, you're also fine. And then what should be the level of homework that you should do? Basically, the first step is add in the asking price first of the units that are in the enclave that you're selecting. So after you add in the asking prices, you realize that there are 4 landed homes that you're all okay to consider. Whether is it Cat 1, 2, 3, 4, you're all okay. And Cat 1 home, there's 1 unit asking 7 million, semi-D, and then 8 million, 9 million, and then there's a brand new developer for 10 million. So what is the next step? Basically, you rate the horses in terms of their condition. So after you put in the horses basically is to determine whether is it GIC or PIC. So you realize that, hey, this Cat 1 home is asking for 7 million, but it has PIC, poorer inherent characteristics. Maybe facing is a little bit noisier, plot shape is a little bit odd, or facing is a little bit off, maybe. So you rate this as a poorer DNA horse. But then the Cat 2 home is a good DNA. All right? Good plot, good facing direction and stuff like that. And then there's a Cat 3 home that is an enhanced horse. All right? So this has a poorer inherent characteristics, but it has been added value already. And then you have a stellar horse, which is direct from developer, good plot, and then brand new, $10 million. However, when you have decided and then you have discussed with your family, And because these are the only 4 homes on this particular landed enclave that you're very keen in, you've waited for so long for all these listings to pop out in the market. Finally, you have a chance to enter into the market and get a home for your family. And then after you go back and discuss with your family, you all decided to go for this. Why? Maybe there was an emotional aspect. Maybe you're thinking, hey, let's really take this chance to build our own home. Even if it's a poor DNA, doesn't matter. It's okay. I'm going to rebuild it beautifully and we're going to love it. All right? So what's going to happen is that maybe after you bought it, you chose this out of emotion. And what should actually be one of the decision metrics that can probably help you if you have not purchased a home at this stage. So step number 3 is actually to visualize 3 years later. Why 3 years is because your seller stamp duty is up. It could be 5, 8 years. Is that visualize in the event if you do want to sell. I'm not saying that you must or you will sell. If you do want to sell, when you're going to exit, are you able to compete with the rest of the horses? Now, sometimes, example, you're doing very well in your business and your work and your profession. This is a semi-D. But maybe 3 years later, you have aspiration to go to a detached and you see something that you like in maybe 9, 10, 11, a detached. You want to enter into that, but your name is stuck in this semi-D. And when you start to put this in the market, you realize that, hey, why is it that it takes so long to find a buyer and I still cannot exit? And that is what I mean by having that level of choice and flexibility. So when you look at this, and let's say you spend $2 million to rebuild this particular home that you have purchased 3 years ago, and that brings your total costing to $9 million. And let's say 3 years later, the market moves up. Market is good. Every home now is asking for an additional $2 million on top of their purchase price. And let's say all these homes were also sold in a short frame of time after you purchase this particular home. And now, when you want to sell 3 years later, all these homes are asking for 10, 11, 12. They are all adding $2 million on top of their purchase price in 2027. And you also follow suit. You have spent $2 million to rebuild. Your total costing is $9 million. I'm not adding in your other miscellaneous costs like buyer stamp duty and stuff like that, just for purpose of illustration. And you add $2 million to want to put it in the market, $11 million. So what is going to happen is that then you will realize that, hey, why is it that I have some level of difficulty in exiting? Countless viewings, offers are low, people are lowballing me, and then it takes a little bit of time to find a buyer. The rationale could be because you might be surrounded by the better DNA horses. Why? Because this home, it was brand new 3 years ago. Now it's 3 years old. Your home, maybe you took 2 years to build, even though it's only 1 year old, but maybe in terms of the GIC, good inherent characteristics, the good DNA, a lot of buyers are preferring to just pay another $1 million to go for this $12 million stellar house compared to your enhanced home. Because even though you have rebuilt it, the original intact right inside is still a poorer DNA. And we have to take note that when we move towards a higher quantum, buyers become more specific. Buyers are more stringent in terms of what they're buying. And because they have the budget of choice, they have $10 over million, they become more stringent in terms of choices. So this could be one reason. And let's have a look at the next one. Scenario number 2. Now, scenario number 2, basically, let me just add in the scenario first for you. So basically, you saw a Cat 1 home, and this is a good DNA home, 7 million. Cat 2, there's a poorer DNA. Cat 3, enhanced horse. Cat 4, also enhanced. And you are the only good DNA landed home in this entire enclave. And these are the price point. So what could be the opportunity here? And which one should you select? Maybe you can key in the chat box, let us know your choice. And of course, interact with the rest of our audiences as well. So let's have a look at this. And this scenario basically is an opportunity scenario. And allow me to share with you why this might be so. So let's, for example, you have decided, hey, you know, since the rest are poorer DNA and this is the only good DNA horse, let me go for this and let me rebuild it. And what might happen 3 years later? So basically, let's say you take 2 years to rebuild and you live in it for 1 year. You spend $2 million to rebuild. Same scenario, your total cost is $9 million. And then you decided to put it in the market 3 years later for $13 million. Would you have a chance to sell it? And I would say that you definitely have a chance to sell it. Why? Because if we were to look at all your competitors. You are in an enclave where the rest of the horses are poorer DNA. And if they were to just mark up $2 million, even though yours is at a higher asking price of 30 million compared to this is 3 years old, yours is 1 year old, but buyers will know and buyers can see for themselves that yours is a good DNA by nature. And by the time you rebuild it, you have already built a stellar landed property. And if you look at this, the opportunity gap here is that your total cost is 9 million if you can exit at 13, which is just 1 million above that brand new home that was just brand new 3 years ago. Your profit is $4 million compared to the rest. And that is what I mean by another scenario, that by understanding the condition disparity, as well as the pricing disparity, and putting in GIC and PIC, it can help you to make better decisions. Now, so knowing how to analyze pricing strategy will also allow you to reap appreciation or a better appreciation 3 years later. So let's have a look at scenario number 3. I hope that you're following us closely so far. We still have 2 more scenarios before we move to point number 2. So scenario number 3 basically is like this. This is also just to have a very simple illustration in the sense that if let's say you're a buyer comparing 2 landed in the same enclave, you happen to see a Cat 3 home and a Cat 3 home. Basically, these are both renovated. They are 15 years old, but renovated. Touch up a little bit, you can move in. Look at the GIC versus PIC, whether it has a good DNA or it has a poorer DNA. And it will be then easier for you to choose, because if they are both asking at the same price, then it will make a lot of sense to go for this. Now, what if you see this scenario in the same street, in the same enclave, both homes you like, and then you are thinking, hey, this is a Stella, this is an Enhance, but I can save $1 million. This is also a possible choice as well. If let's say you have a certain level of preference and you might want to save that $1 million and take that $1 million, pump into this to further enhance it, because there are certain things that you want to do with the home. So this is also another way of looking at things. Let's have a look at a quick recap is that all landed will still find its buyer as long as the price makes sense when you compare GIC and the value add enhancement. The value add can be either added by yourself or it could have already been added by the owner. All right? So it all depends on whether do you want to add it yourself. Let's move on. So a summary up to this part for the 3 scenarios is that also, if let's say currently you are selling a landed to switch to another landed, take note that if your current landed has poorer inherent characteristics compared to your competitors in your enclave, sometimes it will make a little bit of sense to leave a little bit of room for your buyer so that it will make sense for them if you really want to move your listing. If you really want to move your landed because you have an aspiration to move to somewhere else or another landed or another set of portfolio, and you're thinking, why can't I move my landed? Then it might make a little bit more sense to leave some room for your buyer so that they can make sense also. They can use that little bit of savings or discount factor compared to the rest of the good DNA properties in your enclave to value add themselves. And that is how you can possibly see a little bit more kind of like response for your listings. Let's have a look at this case study. So this home was already priced correctly. This home is in D19. This is what we call a house behind a house. Usually, in the past, a developer buys out a big detached and then they will build one semi-D at the front, one semi-D at the back. But usually, the semi-D at the back has a long driveway. We call it a house behind a house. And of course, this is categorized into, if we will look at GIC and PIC, it definitely has PIC. That means poorer DNA compared to the front house. Why? Because this land, technically, in terms of usage, is a little bit more restricted compared to a prim and proper land plot. So a lot of buyers, they maybe will have a little bit of issue thinking about how do we utilize the land. So this home is a real case study. 11 agents tried to sell it. They couldn't sell it. I think it was about a year when the sellers approached PLB. We were thinking of a way on how can we position it and really to bring out some solutions on utilizing this land plot. And of course, bring back some of the positive points of this home.